Well, it's been this intense 2 years, a lot of difficult fights. And I think I'm excited to say I can breathe in deep that here in the beginning of 2008, as we're coming to the close of the first quarter, that inarguably Newark is at a crossroads, or at a tipping point even, if to steal from Malcolm Gladwell. I mean, we on every measure, things are showing some very dramatic change. I mean, violent crime. In many ways, people have Newark, New Jersey, a cachet for crime and criminality. Last summer, we captured the headlines with a savage execution-style murder of 3 kids. And here, less than a year later, we now lead the nation in violent crime turnarounds. We're down over 70% in murders now in the city. We're down, I think, somewhere between 30 and 50% in shootings as well. Because our community really banded together, and there's something magical going on. And suddenly, after an outflow of investment, businesses, we're now seeing that starting to reverse as more companies are coming. You know, we're building our first office building in the city of Newark in years. We're building our first 4-star hotel in years in the city of Newark. Companies are moving to Newark. Law firms are moving to Newark. So on a lot of different levels, you see exciting things happening. We're reclaiming city parks that have been abandoned for decades with a large $40 million fund to reclaim our green spaces. We're discovering the environmental movement in Newark and greening our city with real strategic plans and bringing together a brain trust from around the country. So many things are starting to come, and it was a hard 2 years, I think, to get to the point where we are now, where if you walk around the city of Newark, people sort of feel it. And are starting to see themselves for who they really are. This dynamic, powerful city of Americans in the deepest sense of that word, where we are brick city in America. And that's not about our architecture. We're brick city because we're tough, we're resilient, we're strong, we're enduring, and most importantly, when we come together, there's nothing we can't create. So I think we're a city about to demonstrate to the nation what's possible when it comes to urban transformation in a very short period of time. Well, that was a blessing to me. You know, and first of all, I studied cities academically before I got into politics. But more importantly, when we took the beating in 2002 and sort of narrowly lost this bruising election, I immediately clicked in my mind in my runs around the city of Newark that, okay, we narrowly lost that time, but there's nothing going to stop us now. And with that conclusion, I did something risky, and I went out and raised money. Not only for a nonprofit that I started, but I also was talking to people. I said, I want to just do a study of cities around America and look at best practices and on hardest lessons learned. And we started something called the Institute for Urban Excellence. And I hired a guy, a Harvard MBA, who's just became a phenomenal friend. And I said, let's start looking at these models and these theories that you mentioned about who's doing what well, and start looking at, you know, Bloomberg's Parks program, which was really phenomenal. The activity-based costing that Goldsmith introduced in Indianapolis, CityStat that they introduced in Baltimore, and we just started finding great things that different cities were doing. And talking to great gurus like Michael Porter, who's in the ICIC, Initiative for Competitive Inner Cities, and just started piecing together a vision statement and a vision plan, a vision and a plan for the city of Newark. So when we hit the ground, and we actually did win the next election by a landslide, we actually were ready to go and start saying, okay, now we like CityStat so much, let's start a performance-based sort of a model of governance. We liked what they were doing in this city. Let's try to employ that. And you know, and we also study our own city deep enough to know what were our competitive advantages as a city, what were our assets that were under sort of utilized, what were the low-hanging fruits that we could get really quick, what were the deeper problems that we had to attack soon. Where were the areas we needed to raise our hand and say, help, and get McKinsey to come in, the Boston Consulting Group, and a lot of other people that helped us pro bono in the very beginning. What were some of the key leadership needs that we had and do recruiting? So all of this has helped us, and that's the wonderful thing. And one great example of this is, you know, American government's changing, and people don't realize it because they're so focused on the national level. But on the local level, there's something really wonderful going on that belies party politics. I mean, so often disheartening, the tenor of politics in the last, and since I've been a voter, frankly, it's just disheartening what I see going on the congressional level. But very quietly beneath all that on the city level and a little bit seeping into the governors, you're starting to see people be so much more about pragmatism and problem solving and not giving a darn where side of the aisle you come from. I mean, even that list of mayors I mentioned before, doing good, there were Republicans and Democrats in that list. So my favorite sort of stories to tell, one of my favorite stories to tell is that as soon as I win, I get calls from potential presidential candidates and stuff like that. Well, congratulations, Mayor Booker. And they were all, and I'm grateful, really, and flattered that a lot of folks reached out to me. But the type of call that came from other mayors around the country were markedly different. They called me up and said, yeah, you won. Now let me tell you how to save 10%, cut 10% from your expenditures in your first year in office. Yeah, you won. Let me tell you how our performance review system comes. You know, even the people like Rendell, who are now governors, said, yo, get down here, meet with my former chief of staff so you guys can go over some of the things you can do. It was almost like this sharing of ideas. You know, we all joke, and so a lot of young mayors around the country, about Bloomberg sort of being, you know, mayoral school 101. And he invited my team over. We sat with them. What a genius he is. And again, he ran as a Republican. So, you know, there are Americans out there that are so fatigued of party politics and look every day at real problems, real people, and say we've got to figure out ways to attack these things that are not about ideology, not about party, but about getting the job done. And that's the most refreshing thing about mayors around America that I meet. So when I was out there stumping for Obama in Dayton, Ohio, I actually sat down with the mayor of Dayton, Ohio, and she and I shared ideas. And it's just an exciting thing happening in America. And I think that's where most Americans are. We're not right, we're not left. We are in the center and the heart of America, and we're trying to just make lives better for people. And it's a shame that our party process in some ways becomes so twisted that we often forget that. But I do have a confidence that this movement in America is starting to grow, and I'm a beneficiary of that. And I have tremendous gratitude towards dozens of mayors around America, from as close to by as Trenton, New Jersey, to as far away as San Francisco and Los Angeles, who have taken their time to help me as a young mayor coming up to solve real problems. Look, I try not to focus on his trial or what he's going through beyond prayer, and I don't care who you are. And again, this was sort of my professional nemesis, so to speak. But in many ways, everybody is a gift to you. In many ways, my competition with him was a gift to me. I learned so many valuable lessons. And so right now, I have to love him as well. I have to hold him in prayer. And that's what I tell my staff. I said, look, he's not the focus. The focus is what we're trying to do right now. Send positive energy there and to the larger concept of justice in our country. So it's not a symbol. The reality is most people are going to be focused on what's Newark's crime rate, not after the first quarter, but at the end of the year. Are they doing what our goal is doing, which is being the best, setting the national standard for transformation on public safety? What are they doing for kids? If I'm a voter in the city of Newark, I don't care about, besides the spectacle of it, about what's happening with a trial with somebody that came before. What I care about is my kid going to be safe walking to the corner store? Is my kid going to be able to go to a good school? Is my kid going to have something to do after school that's going to enrich their lives? Am I going to have a good job so I can get my child good housing and my family good housing? Can I move up economically? Can I buy a home and be a homeowner? I mean, these are all the things that salt of the earth residents of my city are really concerned with. And so there's drama and this spectacle, but that's just it's really not important. What's important now is my team getting the job done and and I always say getting the job done, which means partnering with residents towards the higher ends we all seek.